Erev Shabbos. In one of our weekly classes recently, we touched on the topic of Hakel, which is in this week's very brief parsha. It's the second to last mitzvah in the Torah. This is the first call for people to gather together to hear Torah taught publicly. It's at the end of Moshe Rabbeinu's farewell drasha, Moshe's last speech to the people before the end of his life. So you can see how important he knew it was for people to learn. What's the mitzvah of Hakel? Once every 7 years, during Chol HaMoed Sukkos, after the Shemitah, after a sabbatical year, the entire people has to gather together in Jerusalem to hear the king read passages from the Torah. We're talking everyone here. As the verse says, Anashim, Nashim, V'taf, men, women, and children. Everybody here means everybody. It's a powerful image to imagine what it must have been like for the entire Jewish nation to gather together in one place. There's actually a bracha to say if you see 600,000 Jews gathered together in one place. The people who came to the rally for Israel in Washington, D.C. 2 years ago had it all at the ready. They prepared handouts. Alas, they only got to about 2/3 of that number. Still, nevertheless, ArtScroll saw fit to include it in the Siddur. So if you ever find yourself together with 600,000 Jews, you should right away take out your ArtScroll Siddur, which you no doubt have with you at all times, turn to page 230, and make the bracha, the very top bracha on the page, 230, 231, the bracha Chacham Harazim. Now, we're not here to tell people what to do, although many people have an opinion what we should do. Some of the opinions of what we should be doing are listed in the Siddur after Shacharit, a few pages back from where we were. We make reference to these, but we never discuss them. So let's take just a few minutes and familiarize ourselves a bit with that. Our prayers in the morning lately have been concluding on page 170, 171, because we add Psalm 27 at this time of year, and we discussed that a few weeks ago. The next page, 172, 173, is Psalm 104, which is the Psalm of the day for Rosh Chodesh, the first day of a new month. We usually say this on the first of the month, although this coming week will be an exception to that rule. Page 174, 175, no one should know from it. And page 176, 177 is 6 remembrances. Hold your finger in that spot. Just seeing what else is here for interest, if you're still looking to continue praying after the minyan is finished with Shacharit. No one's ever going to chase you out of our shul. You're welcome to stay and daven as long as you like. Page 178, 179 are Maimonides' famous 13 principles of faith. Ani ma'amin, I believe with complete faith. What Maimonides thought every Jew should believe, so they put that in the Siddur as one option for a daily reading and reflection. Page 180, the 10 Commandments, Aseret HaDibrot, that's pretty important. So they included that in case you felt moved to recite those every day or once in a while. Page 181a, Parshas HaTeshuvah, which happens to be the second half of our Torah reading this Shabbat. And at the bottom of the page, Parshas Hayira, also from the book of Deuteronomy, for those who would like an additional reading to strengthen their awe of God. Page 181c, Parshas Haman, remembering the manna. People say that as a prayer for sustenance, for livelihood, parnasa. 181g is a prayer for livelihood itself. And what would a siddur be without, at the bottom of page 181g and h, a prayer after the prayers? A prayer after the prayers. Now, the Gemara in Bracha, some of us learned a few years ago, mentioned those who would pray after davening. They would pray that their prayers be accepted. And what are you going to do now after that? You're just going to get up and walk out of shul? Bottom of 181I and J, you have a prayer for leaving the synagogue, a prayer for when you walk out of shul. You do see some people in Israel, and even here in Toronto, in our fair city, back out of a shul as they would back out, leaving the presence of a king. And some say these verses that are mentioned here on page 180. So let's go back to the 6 remembrances, Sheish Zechirot, 6 remembrances listed on page 176, 177. 6 times the Torah tells us that we should remember these particular events, keep them in our awareness all the time. You see the first note at the bottom of page 176 there says that in the Kabbalistic literature, the mystics tell us we should actually recite these items, these things, these points in Jewish history every day to keep our minds focused. These 6 things are the Exodus from Egypt, receiving the Torah at Sinai, the attack on the Jewish people by Amalek, the golden calf, Miriam, and Shabbat. Why these? Egypt. How many times do we say Zecher li'tziat Mitzrayim, a remembrance of the Exodus from Egypt? This was the moment in our national life that transformed us from a bunch of slaves into a nation of free people. Many argue, and it's a good argument, that this moment was so powerful it is irreversible. There's no going back. Many times over the years, Jews have been put in prison camps, and worse. But our identity as a free nation, even in confinement, has never changed. We believe that anyone can become free from their own personal Nitzavim, their own personal Mitzrayim, their own limitations, whatever action or substance or thought or power it is that enslaves them. That's one. Mount Sinai. This is the covenant between the Jewish people and God, that we have a manual for life and for nation building and for people and community building. The history of the Jewish people is also a counter history of people trying to build the nation on anything other than Torah. Anything other than Torah, and that effort continues to this day. Each and every one, without exception, has failed because Chayenu v'orech yameinu, we say right before Shema, Torah is our life and the length of our days. Accept no substitutes. Amalek. Remember that until the Messianic era, there will always be those in the world who are jealous of us or envy us or for whatever reason concoct a view in their minds that we are worthy of hate and violence. We have a mitzvah to remember to wipe out the memory of Amalek. The very idea or notion of this kind of baseless hatred is really the opposite of everything that we believe in. The golden calf. We should never forget that we are capable of foolish, ridiculous, unbecoming behavior. What could be more idiotic than worshiping an idol? And yet, there we were. The accompanying part to this rather sordid affair is that we did teshuvah. We asked for forgiveness, and our bond with God after that sin was even closer and tighter than it was before. So much more than the mistakes we make. It's how we handle ourselves afterward. We take responsibility, we ask for forgiveness, we repent, and we build on a stronger foundation. The event of Miriam, can you believe it? Even a prophetess and the elder sister of Moshe and Aaron said something regrettable once. We have no saints, although once in a Saturday night class, a venerable and wise old rabbi replied to someone's question about saints. Do we have saints in Judaism, Rabbi? He said, if we got sinners, then we got saints. No one's perfect. Anyone can slip. And arguably, the greater the person's spiritual stature and their standing in the community, the more careful they should be with their words. As Pirkei Avos says, wise people are extremely cautious with what they say. And Shabbos, which we keep and which keeps us in our day and age, strange as things are, non-Jews observe the Sabbath, marking Sabbath in their own way somehow or other, and they remind us that this is our banner of rest and rejuvenation that we were privileged to bring to humankind. Among the greatest lessons in Shabbat is that as much as we think we're in charge for 6 days of the week or more, ultimately, it's not about us. The greatest thing we can do is become God's partners in creation, which we do by accepting the offer to rest, to hold our instincts back from changing the world. Just 1 day out of 7, just letting it be as it is. This coming Monday night begins the Day of Remembrance, Yom HaZikaron, which is one of the names for Rosh Hashanah. We ask God to remember. It hardly seems fair if we're not willing to do some remembrance on our own. That's the occasion for taking a look at and reviewing these 6 remembrances, Sheish Zechirot. Maybe thinking about these things today, this Shabbat, maybe in the week to come, especially the auspicious beginning of the new year and the 10 days of Teshuvah, introspection, and repair, Maybe that will have a deeper effect on us than we might even imagine. So, this Shabbat of Nitzavim, where we are all standing together before one God as one people, offers us a chance to renew and to be renewed for life, for remembrance of good, and motivation to make ourselves even better and inspire others around us. And hopefully, this will be the year where that inspiration and hope spreads out and brings an end to violence, an end to war, an end to incivility, and an end to exile. May it be a sweet, happy, healthy year for us and for all Israel. Shabbat Shalom.